Let's begin at the top of the table. Arsenal showed great defence in terms of going behind without Gabriel Jesus to win that game against West Ham.
Yeah, I think that just shows you how far Arsenal have actually come. I think in that game they showed a number of things, and all the players that we were calling so-called too young last year and lack of experience in certain situations, they seem completely different a season further forward. And to see players like Martinelli standing up, Saka when the chances come, like these players were hot and cold last year. Now they're just hot consistently, and it's fantastic to see. I'm just dreading to think what's going through my dad's head right now.
Yeah, I think we can hear that from a couple of miles away. Big question about no Jesus, Eddie Nketiah. I must ask you about his finish and how impressed you were with that.
Oh, he's brilliant in front of goal. He's ruthless. He's got that. He's cold-blooded in front of goal. You could just tell by his starting positions, where he starts, where he picks the ball up. You look at him here, just uses his body incredibly well, rolls the defender. Defender shouldn't be jumping, trying to dive in and win the ball off him. He should just stand up straight, stand up strong. Look at that. Brilliant turn, brilliant finish. That's a seasoned pro. Seasoned finish there from a natural out-and-out goal scorer. He doesn't even look at the goal once when he rolls him. He just knows where it is instinctively.
Is it
phenomenal?
Is it the weight of the pass that made him decide that movement?
And he felt where the defender was going. He felt the defender rotating, trying to creep around the side of him. So that, naturally, when you've got your arms up, you can sense whether the defender's trying to get around one side or the other. He just rolls him really, really well, gets his body in, like I mentioned, doesn't look at the goal once. You just know. Bang, bottom corner. But that's what he does. When he's given the chance, the opportunities to play week in, week out, which he's going to be afforded now, we're going to see more of that sort of thing. And Arsenal fans will go absolutely bonkers for it because he's one of their own.
Yeah. And what was a nice touch as well, for the first time since he left, we saw Arsene Wenger back at the Emirates, and Mikel Arteta revealing afterwards that he didn't tell the players deliberately. And I think every Arsenal fan, water has gone under the bridge, would be delighted to see this.
Yeah, they have to be. I think what he achieved in his time there was nothing but phenomenal. I think, obviously, there always comes a point in someone's career where long enough is long enough. It's his time to move on, just to try something different. And that's all that happened at the time. But I think, for me, I would have loved to have been there and see him, to be honest with you. He's how can I explain it? To football, he's almost like he brought something completely new to the Premier League when he came. And to a degree, that's still carried on within football. People are still popping the ball around a lot more. And it's kind of filtered down to a lot of teams within the Premier League, and it's just made the league better.
He did. He definitely changed the trajectory of the game. He brought in the nutritional elements as well. He changed what players were eating, how they were resting, how they were training. I don't know if he's managed to figure out how to zip up his jacket properly just yet, but he's, you know, that rivalry between himself and Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United as well is something that will forever be remembered. And it's Arsene. He's an incredible manager.
Yeah, brilliant to see. Now, people keep saying there's questions to be answered for Arsenal. They keep answering them. There are more coming up because it's a month ahead with more challenges for the league leaders. And remember, they haven't played Manchester City yet as well. That includes Newcastle, a North London derby, a game against Manchester United as well, packed in there. From what you're seeing about the spirit and the collectiveness, they're not going anywhere for you?
No, they're not. I think a few months ago, maybe a bit longer than that, when I was in there, I had to do something based on it, and I said it would be disrespectful to Arsenal not to put them in a title run. I think what they showed then and what they're showing now are telling people, like you said, we're here to stay, and until you knock us off the top, we're going to stay here and we're going to keep winning. So come catch us, basically. And they're making it very hard for the teams behind, and that just sets up for a great season of football for us to watch. And it will be interesting to see them against the likes of Newcastle. And to be fair, I would even put Brighton in there, a team that like to keep possession of the ball just the way they do. So it will be interesting to see.
You mentioned Newcastle. Eddie Howe says they're right to dream. They've won 6 in a row, Jermaine. They picked up exactly where they left off against Leicester. I mean, what a story this is developing into.
It's been amazing, hasn't it? It's been a breath of fresh air. really exciting football as well, a really exciting brand of football. Eddie Howe, his backroom staff, they've strengthened in the right areas. They've brought in the right type of players, the right type of mentalities. The players they had in the ranks originally, they've improved those guys as well. Almiron, for example, being one of the standout performers alongside Joe Linton. And then you've got the strikers who were absent in this game. Callum Wilson, Alexander Isaac as well. St. Maximum. You know, it's incredible. It's so exciting from a Newcastle's perspective, where they could go, where they could end up. I don't see why they shouldn't be looking at the Premier League title race and saying, we're going for it. You know, January's around the corner. The owners are probably looking at that saying, look, we're going into it, third in the Premier League table, within touching distance. You know, let's see if we can do it.
I have to agree with him. Even if they dropped out of it now, nobody would see it as a bad season. They're already doing what people didn't think they would do. And not only doing it, they're playing very, very well by doing it. If you see some of their football, it's been unbelievable, especially from Bruno Guimaraes. He's been phenomenal for me, but they enjoy keeping the ball now. Like, just so comfortable. No matter what happens, they deal with it. And that's not what we're used to seeing from Newcastle. But just this play in general, like, he's gone past him, but he cuts back. He sees something different. And it's the way he carries his run on where it comes in and the pass is beautiful. And
how many players it takes out?
It takes out about 5 players with one pass and his first touch. And it's just, he's in such a rich vein of form. His confidence is sky high, so that would have just been easy for him.
8 goals in 9 games for Miguel Almiron. Quite incredible. 9 in 16 compared to 9 in 110. I mean, that is some improvement.
That speaks volumes as to his confidence, where he is mentally as well. As I mentioned before, he's playing week in, week out. Eddie Howe's put his arm around his shoulder and said to him, you're my winger, you're my wide man, you're my goal threat. Go out there and enjoy yourself, express yourself, show us what you're capable of, because we know how good you are, we know how good you can be. Apply yourself in the right way and show the world what we know in-house. And that's exactly what he's doing.
Now, talking of confidence, Jermaine, I'm interested in Marcus Rashford because, again, he was scoring and assisting against Nottingham Forest, 10 in all competitions. He's already doubled last season's tally on the back of those 3 World Cup goals and a League Cup goal when he came back against Burnley as well.
Very similar situation. He's playing week in, week out in a team that play a far more attacking brand of football. He's playing out wide as well, which I think is his best position. I think the way he runs with the ball, his pace, he's better suited 1v1 against the wide man than he is with his back to goal against 2 centre-halves. And you can see, this is the first time in a long time he's playing with a smile on his face. He's attempting little cutbacks, he's scoring, he's getting assists. He's celebrating with his teammates now as well. And that's something that was vacant last season especially. But, you know, I'm pleased for him. I'm happy for him as well. I want to see a little bit more of him. And what I mean by that is every time he picks the ball up, don't be afraid to go past a defender, because he's got the electric pace, he's got a lovely step over on him as well. He's got a great finish. He could cut in from the left onto his right foot and put it in the far post. We've seen that a number of times. Just see a little bit more of that.
We've got a derby coming up. You're not too worried yet, but United just 1 point off the top 4.
Manchester's blue, isn't it? Why am I going to be worried for?
Because you've got to be a neutral pundit.
No, I'm not going to do that on that day.
Well, just for 1 minute, because Rashford's getting the headlines. But how good was Casemiro again in that game?
And for me, he's unbelievable. He always reminds me myself of Claude Makelele. Didn't really care about attacking. His celebration or goal or assist was things like that. Tackling, breaking up play, giving it to people that can play. But he's got a range of passing on him, which breaks line, which gets people in behind. And this tackle, I think if it's the one, I think this is the one. There's one in this game that he does where Man United actually break from and score from. And they're the things you want to see from him. But even at the end, he's just been phenomenal here. The weight of pass. Like, that's from a holding midfielder. So as well as breaking up play, he can also assist. And he does score goals as well. Crucial goals that I saw.
Yeah, he's like a magnet. He's like a magnet to the ball when his team are being attacked. You know, he just gravitates slowly towards them, and he's got that knack of being in the right place at the right time and winning the ball back. And as you mentioned there, the range of passing. I think the last clip there, it was a lovely little daisy cutter where he cut across the ball and hit it 35, 40 yards across pitch and created another attack. He's a brilliant holding midfield player.
Given that Unai Emery won his first 2 league games in charge of Aston Villa, how important was that win for Liverpool, do you think, at Villa Park?
For me, in general, it was a massive win for Liverpool. And I can go as far as it was even massive to see Salah on the score sheet again. I think he's done a lot more assisting this season rather than what we're used to seeing it on the flip side. But I think Liverpool now, even when they're not playing as well as we know them to play, are getting back to them ways where no matter how they play, how bad it is, you know they're going to score goals. And that is the Liverpool I like to see. I like to see Trent playing because I know what he brings to the game. Like, he sets so much things in motion. And if you see his pass in that game against Villa, like, I just looked at him and said, why are you even trying that? Like, you're a right back, like, chill. But he can do that. And it's nice for football to see. So you can see them, they're just getting better and better slowly and slowly.
Stefan Bajcetic, the 18-year-old, got the last goal, a new name, 4th youngest scorer in Liverpool's history in the Premier League with a very cheeky finish.
Brilliant finish. The first touch was absolutely outstanding as well. But, like, you just see his starting position, edge of the 18-yard box. He fakes to shoot, which makes the goalkeeper commit himself as well. He steadies himself, composes himself. There you go, fakes to shoot, got it on his left foot. A cheeky nutmeg on Tyrone Mings as well, on the line.
He means that, by the way.
He does.
The way he bounces it over his leg.
There you go, a late Christmas present for you, Reds. He signed a 6-year contract from PSV Eindhoven. The striker we've just seen, of course, play for the Netherlands in the World Cup finals, where he scored a couple of goals in Qatar. He is officially now a Liverpool player.
It's good to see, I think. I think for the Premier League in general, there's just building more of a title race. I think when Liverpool always do deals or transfers, I feel like their best player will go. And it's like trade one in, trade one out sort of thing, whereas I feel they need to start building a team of the same calibre of players so they have that depth. So if Salah or Núñez get injured, they can replace them and know they're still going to have a similar outcome. And I think that's what City have done while they seem to manage to be able to go the longevity and keep winning games, because they can rotate and know whatever's in place, there's going to be that same outcome. Where Liverpool are now starting to build that up again. So it's good to see.
And Spurs are still in 4th by just 1 point, but they're going to have to start games better, Jermaine, incredibly. 9 games in all competitions in a row, they've had to come from behind.
It's incredible, isn't it? They should go into each game thinking and assuming they're a goal behind.
What on earth do you put that down to?
I'm not entirely sure. Defensively, they're relatively sound. They're solid. You know, you look at the players that Antonio Conte tends to start games with, and it's a very defensive-minded 11 usually, apart from Son, Kane, Kulusevski. The rest of them are defensive-minded players. And then the second half, when the opposition team have been worn down, that's when they turn it on. I've got a few friends who are Spurs fans, and they all say the same thing to me. They really don't enjoy going to watch them play because it's boring. I said, well, it may be boring, but you're in a Champions League spot, you know? It wasn't too long ago that you were complaining about not being in the Champions League spot, but you were playing some relatively decent football. Get the points first, get in those Champions League places, and then alter the way you play. Don't... I wouldn't recommend losing out on the points and being in the Champions League spot just to entertain people. You know, the most important thing is playing European football.
I just think if you look at Conte managers in general, he likes to be in control, especially in that defensive area. And I find that when they do attack, they're never in control. And I don't feel like he likes that, is the reason why they start the game like that. But like you said, if they're going to keep going behind in games, if they come up against a better team, it's going to be lights out. Yeah, if he comes up against a Man City or a Liverpool or even Newcastle right now, they could be 3 or 4-0 down at half-time, because against Brentford, it was close enough to be in that. Yeah. And they got away with one there, I think, personally.
OK, so Tottenham still in the top 4 by a point after 5 Premier League games without a win before the break. How much did your former club just need a win of any sort against Bournemouth?
They needed that, Steve, to be honest with you. It could have come anywhere. They could have played a lot worse than that, but they needed to win whatever it is. And I thought from the start they dominated the game. They didn't kill the game off when they had chances to, but they dominated it. And towards the end, they came under a little bit of pressure where it could have looked like it was going to go the other way, but they stuck in there and they defended really, really well in the end.
And do you feel he's got to try and build on that and try and find what he might think is his best 11, Graham Potter?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's searching for it, and I don't think he's that far off it. But when you're changing one player here, one player there all the time, sooner or later it does start to affect some of the players that are in there, whether they're going to be playing or not, whether they're able to build any type of momentum as well.
They've made more changes, 60, than any other team this season, Chelsea.
Exactly, and you can tell, you know. He was unfortunate with what happened with Reece James, which is, you know, that's a massive, massive loss if he's going to be out for any amount of time. But
he knew, didn't he, straight away?
Yeah, but having had a knee injury myself previously, same with you as well, Sean, you know that you can't start games relatively quickly after you've only been training for a week or two. Your knees aren't like your hamstrings or your calves, where you can kind of ease your way into a game.
And Chelsea have since said it isn't as bad as first feared. He's expected to be out for up to a month, but huge empathy and sympathy for Reece James in that situation.
100%. For me down there, he's one of my favourite players. I appreciate watching him. I appreciate what he does on the ball and the fight that he puts in for them. But like Jay said, I think it was just too early. I don't think he played a warm-up game. And I think, like, with your knee, you have to get used to it, even if it's like 10 minutes of contact. Playing matches and training is completely different. There's always unexpected twist and turn, knocks and bumps that you have to get used to. And I don't think he had that. So coming off the back of what he had, I don't think his knee was ready for what it got dealt. But like he said, sometimes it just doesn't go your way. He could have come out of that game smooth because he was fine in the first half. But that's football, and I'm just wishing him a speedy recovery.
Absolutely, and we all endorse that.